everyone, it's me, Aaron, Professor Thor, your guide to all things geeky, and welcome to another episode of Comic Clash, the show every single Wednesday on this channel where we just geek out about comic books, and we are back. Last week I was out of town, so we had to skip that week, which makes this our very first episode in March, and as many of you might know, March is National Women's History Month. In fact, just yesterday was International Women's Day, and in honor of that, today on this show, we're going to be counting down the top 10 dude bros in comic books. At number 10, Cable. Just check out all those muscles and shoulder pads and the size of that gun. Clearly the man who designed him was not overcompensating for anything. Oh my god, I can't keep that up with my throat. Alright, just kidding, we're not doing that today or ever. And in fact, we're actually going to be making a couple of recommendations for everyone out there. Today, we're going to be counting down my 20 personal favorite books out there right now starring female protagonists. There are a lot of people out there who want to support the representation of women in comics, and that is wonderful to hear, and this is a great time to start doing that because there are so many wonderful books to choose from. This was originally going to only be a top 10 list, but then I got to number 10 and I went, there's still so many other books I want to talk about. There are tons of great books out there featuring female protagonists right now, and these are my personal favorite top 20, and I gotta stress that a little bit, it's just my personal favorite. This isn't the ones that I thought was necessarily the best, it's the ones that I personally enjoy the most. So, as always, I want to hear from you guys in the comments down below. What is your favorite book featuring a female protagonist right now? And again, as always, with any of my top 10 lists, there's a couple of rules that I gotta enforce. First off, these are the books that are out there right now. If the book is on break, or if it's a book that only comes out kind of sporadically, it's not on the list. These are the ones that you could go into the store right now, and there's a pretty good chance it's gonna be right there on the shelf. Also, these are books featuring female protagonists, but that doesn't necessarily mean like a teen book in which most of the characters are women. No, this is 100% everyone is a woman in the book, so no Saga. Saga is an amazing book with a ton of great female characters in there, but it kind of represents everybody equally, which is wonderful, but doesn't qualify for this list. I just had to point that out there because someone in the comments was going to go, what about Saga? There you go. Also, before I get into the list, I just gotta say, when I was a kid, there were no books featuring women to choose from. There was one woman, Batgirl, that was pretty much it. Neither of the big two companies was really pushing to put female characters out there all that much, and any of the indie companies that was pushing for that, let's just say they didn't have the best representation. So it is amazing for me to see so many books out there that are trying to represent so many different types of women. And also, I have seen so many new female customers coming into my store excited about these books. Not just, okay, I'll pick it up to support, but no, actually genuinely excited about these books. And that fills me with so much joy every single week when I see them come in. So let's go ahead and let's celebrate these great books with number 20. At number 20 is Harrow County. Now, I've mentioned this before on my Halloween recommendations. I mentioned this on my top 100 comics of 2015 list. But Harrow County is this series that is all about this young girl growing up on a farm, and a couple of years before she was born, her dad and all the townsfolk killed a witch on their farm, and now she may or may not be the reincarnation of that witch, and suddenly strange things in the woods start talking to her. This book is haunting. It is the definition of haunting. It captures that old woodsy creepiness very well, and the female protagonist, you really feel for her. You do. You really want to see what is going to happen to her. You really get caught up in her story, and she doesn't just go into it just completely freaking out. She's actually kind of courageous about the situation. I rarely see that in these kind of haunting horror series. Typically the people are just freaking out about everything. She actually has this genuine intrigue about what is going on, and I find that really appealing. At number 19 is Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur. Now this is a series all about this little girl who loves science, and one day she discovers a portal back in time, and it brings forth this giant red T-Rex called Devil Dinosaur. He was this old school Marvel character created by Jack Kirby, and the two of them are slowly starting to bond, slowly starting to become best friends. Like, we're just getting to that point where you're seeing the relationship form, and that's a lot of fun to watch. But also, I love the fact that this book is so unapologetic about the fact that it is pro-science. Like, this is a book that's all about, hey kids, education is awesome. It is all about how cool science is. This kid loves science, and that's honestly something that a lot of kids need. They need a hero who is that pro-science. And number 18 is Angela, Queen of Hell. Now, for anybody who doesn't know, Angela is one of the most badass characters in the Marvel Universe right now. She's the sister to Thor, the daughter to Odin, and she was kidnapped as a child and raised by angels. So she kind of has this no allegiance to anyone going on. I'm out there just to be a badass on my own. Except it's also one of the best love stories that Marvel is putting out because she does have a love interest. She has this character Sarah there, who she rescued from the other angels, and together they have grown and bonded together, and she finds out that Sarah has been taken down to hell, so Angela does what Angela does best. Go and kick ass. She went down to hell and made herself the new queen, and yeah, it continues to hold on to that really strong love story, but at the same time, it's got her just beating the crap out of demons and whatever weird Norse mythology monsters she can find. It really satisfies a lot of different readers. And number 17 is Bitch Planet. Now I know for a lot of people out there, this would easily be number 1 on their list, and I can totally see that. It totally deserves to be number 1 on many people's list. This is a science fiction series set in the future in which women are told that they have to behave a certain way. Pretty much just anybody who isn't a straight white man is told you have to behave this specific way, and if you are unruly and you don't act the way that we want you to, we send you off to this prison planet where we try and teach you how to behave in society. It's a great metaphor for the oppression that so many people feel in our modern day society, and it really is opening the eyes of so many readers. The only reason why it is not higher on my list is because it kind of comes out a little bit infrequently. Like I said, these are books that you could go into the store right now and find it right there on the wall. This one, sometimes it comes out 1 month after the other times it'll be like a 4-month gap. So I did have to tap it down a little bit for that, but you are grading this solely just on how well it speaks to its audience and how well it represents characters. Yeah, it would easily be top 3. And number 16 is Princeless, and in a weird way, Princeless is kind of the bitch plan for kids. It's the story of a fairy tale princess who is locked away and she has to wait for a prince to come and rescue her, and then one day she goes, that's dumb, why am I doing that? I'll just save myself. And indeed she does. And then she saves herself, and then she sets out to go and find other princesses all over the world and starts saving them. They start joining together into this big team. It's a lot of fun, and it's such a good read for little girls. I suggest it to any parent with a little girl who comes in and goes, I want to get her into comics. It's like, this is the one that you need to start her on. It is amazing. So yeah, not only is it good for kids, it's also a lot of fun for all ages. If you have never tried this series out, especially if you have a daughter or a young sister and you want to get them into comics, this is the one to go with. And number 15 is a new indie series called Henchgirl. Now, I met the creator of this series at Comic-Con a couple years back, and I bought a couple of her issues, and I really liked them. I really wanted to see these books get picked up. And now they have. They are out there. You can go into your local comic book store and ask for them to order it. And I really recommend that you do that because it's so much fun. I love any kind of superhero series out there that can cast a more modern day blue collar side to that story, which they go, yeah, but what does it look like for the regular guy? Not the really big guy up there, but just kind of like their underlings. And yeah, this is the story of a henchgirl. It's the story of somebody who works for one of the big guys, and I actually think it's incredibly quirky and charming, but at the same time, as the story goes along, there's a little bit of like mysteries that start to build up. You start to get way more involved and interested in these characters, and overall, it's just a lot of fun. And number 14 is Black Canary. Now the pitch behind this series is that Black Canary needs money. So she has joined up with this rock band because she is an amazing vocalist and they need an amazing vocalist, so it's a perfect match, and they go out there on the road going from one gig to the next, but they find out that their little bass guitar player has a dark secret of her own, and now all of a sudden weird government agencies and alien people are coming to try and snatch her away, so they have to protect her, but they also have to hit up all of their shows or else Black Canary's not going to get the money that she needs. So it's this really crazy idea for a book, but it kind of works. I've talked about this book numerous times, and every time that I do, I always say it sounds like an amazing Saturday morning cartoon. I still stand behind that. I still really want to see the Saturday morning cartoon version of this show, but also at the same time, this is trying to capture that feeling of on-the-road rock and roll, and it does. It really succeeds at that. And number 13 is All New Wolverine. Now, in case you guys haven't heard, Logan has passed away. Don't ask me why there's an old version of him there, that's an entirely other story. But Logan has passed away, and so his clone daughter, sister, I was never really that positive on what their relationship was, but his clone, Laura Kinney, has now taken up the mantle, and she is going out there trying to save her other clone sisters, all of whom are slowly dying because they were imperfect clones. And yeah, God, I did not expect a Wolverine book to have this much heart. It really does. You really feel for Laura and how she feels about her sisters. You really get attached to each of them, even if some of them are psycho murder people. But you really want to see Laura go out there and save these people, while at the same time, you want to see her kick a bunch of ass. And she kicks a whole bunch of ass. She is a great character, and this series really captures all those things that make her work. At number 12 is Paper Girls, and Paper Girls is crazy. I really don't know any better way to describe this book, and I don't know how much I should say about it, because discovering how weird this book gets and all the places it goes is one of the things that makes it such an amazing read, but keeping it as vague as I can. This is a book about a bunch of newspaper girls. That used to be a thing, kids. People used to deliver newspapers home to home on their bicycles. Ask your parents. But it's about a bunch of newspaper girls who wake up one November 1st morning, go out there and deliver papers, and then all of a sudden they start seeing some weird guys lurking around, and they happen to go into an abandoned house and discover some weird machine in there, and then strange stuff starts happening to the skies. And I know that I'm keeping this super vague, but trust me, you want me to keep this vague, because as you read and as you start to discover what the heck is going on, listen, we're like 4 or 5 issues in, I still don't know what's going on, but God, I pick up every issue excited to see how crazy this is going to get. At number 11 is Interceptor. Now, I've described a couple of these books as being kick-ass, about characters that go out there and just badasses and are totally awesome. This might be one of the most badass series on the stands right now, period. Interceptor is about, in the future, vampires started to rise up and take over the earth, and rather than fighting them back, human beings said, yeah, screw this, and they just loaded up onto rocket ships and blasted off into space and colonized a new planet. And now it's several centuries later, and guess what? The vampires are starting to learn space travel themselves. And they're starting to make their presence known in space again. So they have now created this super soldier. They've basically created future cyborg Captain America with a mech suit, and they load her up and send her back to Earth, and she starts taking out all these vampires. But as she's doing it, she starts to realize, oh, these vampires are actually stronger and more technologically advanced than I thought. And also, there are humans on this planet. Yeah, it was only the rich people who left Earth. All the poor people had to stay and learn how to fight the vampires. And so she ends up teaming up with them, including getting this little sidekick who's this plucky young girl. And the soldier and her are this great contrast, because she's in there like, all right, we have to sneak up on the enemy. We have to be very careful about this and be very professional. And then her little sidekick gets up and just starts yelling curse words and obscenities at all the vampires. It's such a fun dynamic between these two. But yeah, if you have never heard of this book and you've never checked out, and you want something that is just 2 great characters going out there and tearing into a planet of vampires, I know it's a specific thing to want, but this is the book for you in that case. Number 10 is Giant Days, and number 9 is Unbeatable Squirrel Girl. And I'm combining these both together because I've already done whole episodes that spotlighted these books in particular. You can click on that one right there for Squirrel Girl, you can click on that one right there for Giant Days, or if you're on your phone, there's the little card thing that's popping up there. I just don't know how that works. I'm bad at YouTube. But anyway, you can click on any of those to go and check those out, but in case you don't want to, I will just give you the quick summary. Unbeatable Squirrel Girl, it is fun, upbeat, it's all about this character who can take out anyone because she's just awesome. She's not a rough and tough, gritty badass. No, she believes in the power of fun and friendship and just being positive and positive thinking. And she is actually able to take out massive villains with just that. And it's so damn fun. And Giant Days is this series about 3 girls who go off to college, and it's just kind of a fun, quirky book about college. I know that doesn't sound like the best pitch, but it's one of those books where as you read it, you really get attached to these characters. I've gotten more attached to these characters than I have to pretty much any character in any book out there, just because they are so darn charming. I'll admit, it's one of those books that when you read the first issue, you might be like, I don't know. But if you stick with it, God, you are going to get so wrapped up in their lives. You are going to get so in tune with the sense of humor so that jokes that might at one point not have made you laugh are now making you just roll over dying with laughter. It is a book that I highly recommend checking out if you ever get the chance. At number 8 is Spider-Woman. Now, every single time that I talk about Spider-Woman and how much I absolutely love that book, because I do, someone will come into the comments, or they'll come to me on Tumblr, they'll come to me on Twitter, and they'll tell me what the problems with that book are. They'll tell me why they don't enjoy it. And I understand that. I'm not trying to take that away from anyone. Everybody's allowed to feel the way that they are. And I'm glad that you're sharing your opinions, because honestly, if you hadn't have told me why you feel these ways, I wouldn't really have understood. You have made me understand why so many people don't really care for this book. I still love the hell out of it. This is still easily one of my favorite comic books, period. This book, oh my gosh, Jess is one of my favorite characters at Marvel right now. I'll be honest with you, when I was reading her in New Avengers, I didn't care at all about her. I did not. This book nails her so much. This book captures the lovable curmudgeon that she is. Just this person who's like, I don't want to be a superhero. This all stinks. This is such a crap situation. This character who you just feel for how bad her life has gotten and all the crap that gets dumped on her. But at the same time, you totally root for her when she turns around and becomes such a badass. But at the same time, this new series, the one that just started with the Marvel reboot, has shown what a heart she has. I know a lot of people complain that they didn't really have that much heart in the first one. I didn't totally agree with them, but I could kind of see it. This reboot has totally given her a heart because now she is a mother, and let me just say, I know there were a ton of people out there who saw that she was going to be pregnant, and they were like, oh God, why are you doing this to Jess? This is the worst thing ever. I saw the worst thing ever pop up all over the place when talking about this book. I work in a comic book store. I get to see people actually in person coming in and reacting to this book, and you know what I've seen? I've seen a ton of moms. I've seen a ton of pregnant women coming into my store with either their husband or boyfriend or their kids, and they're just there. They are not interested in comics. I'm not saying that about all moms, obviously not. I'm saying that about these specific ones that I've seen. But they come in and they're just there like, hey, I'm just here to kill time until they're done. And then they see that Spider-Woman cover with her pregnant, and they lose their minds in excitement. I have seen multiple pregnant women grab that book, put it into their husband's face and go, is this real? Is there really a pregnant superhero? This is amazing. And I'm like, oh my God, I get it now. I get why you did this. This is awesome. I'm so happy to see that audience coming in. But anyway, the reason why I personally love it, like I said, so much heart. I think that Jess is such an amazing character. And this first story arc, it was her in space on a space hospital full of aliens as Skrulls invade. And she's 9 months pregnant at this point. She can't exactly fight them off. And yet she has to find out a way to save everyone. And it's drawn gorgeously. There are some amazing page layouts throughout this whole thing. And it's basically Die Hard in space. That's what it is. It is her trapped on this space facility full of terrorists coming in, trying to attack, and she has to figure out a way to take them out without fully confronting them, and she does it pretty smart, and it all leads up to what is one of the most touching moments throughout the series, followed immediately by one of the most badass moments in the entire series. And God, I love the relationship between her and Jess. I could literally go on and on and on about how much I love this book. I do. It's one of my favorite books that Marvel is putting out. I'm just gonna put it at that and go on to the next one. It's gonna be hard to top my excitement from that last one, but let's give it a try. At number 7 is Monstress. Now, Monstress is this gorgeous series with an amazing world where mythological or fairy tale creatures, I don't know exactly how you want to describe them, but creatures like that are kind of kept as servants and slaves to wealthy humans. And this is one part world exploration, one part revenge story, one part I don't even know because there's this big mystery behind this character's past. And it really is just some of the most well-written characters I have read in any series out there right now. And the villains, listen, we haven't seen a lot of the villains yet, but oh my God, are they evil. Holy cow. I applaud any book that can really write villains well. This book is nailing it. And I am loving this kind of gritty protagonist. She's not gritty as in like some old grizzled person. I mean more as in like, she's dark. She's had dark past, and I'm loving seeing her interactions with everybody else, including this little fox kid that's following her around. It's so much fun, but as I said, the art's gorgeous. Not only is the world and the cities and the way that these characters are all dressed just absolutely like Oscar-winning good, but also the creatures themselves, there's like some Shadow of Colossus level stuff going on in here, and it looks so damn good. At number 6, ready for a shocker? Jim and the Holograms. Yeah, I said it. Listen, if you follow this channel, especially the review show that I do on the weekends, you know that Jim and the Holograms movie has kind of been a thorn in my side for the longest time. But when I saw that movie coming out, and it looked so bad, I was like, I don't really know much about Jim and the Holograms. I'm gonna research this. And this was right around the same time that IDW started putting out this Jim and the Holograms comic, and so I was like, alright, I'll check it out. I checked it out, I was like, this is really good. It's really good for the audience it's aimed at, but you know what? That audience just isn't me. But it is really good for anybody who is in that audience. But my girlfriend at the time, and wife now, is part of that audience, so I started getting the book for her, and I started reading along with it, and I was like, alright, this is kind of interesting. Yeah, okay. And my interest in it has just continued to grow and grow and grow, and in the most recent storyline, it's called the Dark Jim storyline, in which something is causing them to kind of turn to the dark side and kind of turn towards the grungy, metallic version of rock. And yeah, it's pretty darn good. I have now gone from, oh yeah, you know, I can see why people would like this, to, oh yeah, I really like this. If you are somebody out there who might in any way, shape, or form be a Jim fan, you have to check this out. And if you just want a fun book about a group of rock stars that's drawn really colorfully and is really upbeat and has a fun collection of characters, also check this book out. At number 5 is Weirdworld. Oh my god, read Weirdworld. Holy cow, this is easily one of the best books that came out of the Marvel relaunch. Weirdworld in the Marvel Universe is this kind of strange reality that exists between time and space. Like, you can only really get there by going through the Bermuda Triangle, Flyangle. I almost said Flyangle. Oh my god, I need to wrap this episode up. You can only get there by going through the Bermuda Triangle or some other weird portal. It's the place where all lost things go to be found, is the way that they describe it. And it's a collection of different mismatched lands and realities. Like, you could be walking through one land and it's full of crystal people. Then you walk through another land, it's full of molten rock people. Then you walk through another place and it's full of chimps who wear scuba diving suits and go through the swamps. It's weird, and they capture it so damn well. But the reason why it is on this list is because this story follows Becky the human girl, who is crash landed in Weirdworld, and she is out there trying to find a way home. And I won't say why she so desperately needs to get home, because when they revealed that, it was hands down the biggest gut punch that any book gave me last year. It was a stunning moment. But she crash lands and she doesn't know how to survive, and she meets up with this giant barbarian woman who just wants nothing more in life than to kill witches. But Becky needs a witch to get her home, so it's this great story where she needs her to survive in this land, but if she relies on her too much, then she's going to kill her one ticket home. And god, they have such a great chemistry and relationship with each other. The number one thing that I can say about Weirdworld, and the way that I can sum this all up, is I feel like Weirdworld is that book that when you pick it up and look at it, it's like, oh, this is some weird fantasy thing. Okay, that's cool. And at first glance, it doesn't seem like it is a great book about a girl trying to get home and really a very human story about her, while at the same time with great, vibrant characters. I feel like just that pitch of the book doesn't quite come through with what you might see from a quick glance at. So if you pick this up, you went, I don't know if I want this, go back to your store and pick it back up again. This is a book that does indeed deserve to be read. At number 4 is Mighty Thor. Now, once again, for anybody who hasn't heard, the old Thor is no longer worthy of lifting the hammer, so this new character has come in and lifted it up, and it is a woman. And I don't know how much I should spoil. I think everybody at this point knows who the new Thor is, but in case you haven't, still gonna keep it a secret. But in this latest series, the new Mighty Thor series, we're finally getting to see it from her perspective. We're finally starting to see what it's like being Thor from her perspective. And again, it is really hard for me to talk about what makes this book so incredibly good without revealing who it is that's the new Thor. But she is going through a medical situation. I just spoiled it for anybody who's been reading the old Thor series. I did, didn't I? Anyway, she's going through some tough times. And when you see that contrast between what she's going through as a human and how well they capture it and how well they capture that pain that she's suffering through, man, it's really emotional. But then when you see her lift up the hammer and you see how happy she is and how much that's touching her, it kind of hits you on a whole new emotional level. For a book that's all about Thor going around stomping giant monsters and ice giants and weird dark elves, this really has such an emotional tone to it and really hits your heart in so many different ways. But at the same time, this is space Game of Thrones, because there's like 9 different evil groups that are slowly rising up trying to take over Asgard, and holy cow, you know it's all going to lead towards a peak. And you can't imagine how big it's going to be, because every single issue makes it seem like it's going to be that much of a bigger threat and that much of a giant event. And number 3 is Captain Marvel. Now, a lot of people were really worried when Kelly Sue DeConnick left Captain Marvel, because Kelly Sue DeConnick was the person who came in and went, I'm going to make Carol Danvers a character. I'm going to make her 3-dimensional. I'm going to make her feel like a real person. And she did it. She nailed it. She is the person who made Captain Marvel an A-list character in the Marvel Universe, and I applaud her so much for that. But here's the thing. We had no reason to be concerned, because this new series is capturing Captain Marvel exactly as well. It nails that character so freaking well. But at the same time, this new book has come in and gone, alright, so we already made her a great A-list character, let's now give her A-list stories, let's give her A-list settings, because now she's in space running her own team, the Alpha Flight team, which is Earth's first defense against the threats from space, which is a position that a character like Captain Marvel absolutely should have. And it is great seeing her run this gorgeously drawn space station, and I'm loving the team that she's been given. I never thought in my life I would read a book and go, oh, I kind of care about Puck now. But I kind of care about Puck now. But getting back to Captain Marvel, seeing this big, massive threat, which we've only seen a glimmer of, there's this tiny little part of, but it's this mystery of what's to come and what does it all mean. And that has got me so excited to read each issue after each issue. And number 2 is Miss Marvel. This is a book that captured a voice of an entire generation better than probably any book out there. And it's given us one of the best new Marvel characters in generations. I am loving seeing the adventures of Kamala Khan, not just as a superhero, and not just seeing her trying to be this defender of her hometown, but also her home life. It balances those two things so well. This is one of the most solid books that any company is putting out, with some of the best written characters, not just protagonists, but also supporting characters, no matter how small they might be. It really makes this entire world feel alive and full of vibrant people. And Kamala herself, like I said, one of the best written characters out there. It is a character that you read and you just want to root for. If you can read Miss Marvel and go, I don't like this character at all, I don't know what to tell you, man. I don't, because, God, 2 pages into her first appearance, and you're like, oh, I want to see where this goes. So if you still haven't checked out Miss Marvel, I don't know what to tell you to convince you otherwise, because this is a book that so many people have said is the best book of the year. I remember it was the best book of 2014 over at Comic Book Resources, and was number 2 last year. This book, everyone is praising, and they're not just doing it because it's the cool, fun, hip thing to do. They're doing it because it legitimately deserves that praise. And at number 1 is Faith from Valiant Comics. Now, a lot of people don't know what Valiant Comics is. A lot of people don't know who Faith is. So I could tell you about all that. And I could go into the backstory to try and prep you to go out there and buy copies of this book. However, explain to you all of that and all what makes her special and all what makes this book so darn good would take up an entire episode. So that's what I'm going to do. I know, I'm sorry. I know it feels kind of like a cheat for me to come in here and go, oh, to be continued, come back next week to see what I'm going to talk about, but seriously, this does deserve to have an entire episode dedicated to it. So next week, I'm going to talk all about Faith, and I'm also going to tell you everything that you need to know about her character and her universe in order to start reading her and many other Valiant books. Because you guys really need to be reading Valiant. That company is so damn good. So, thank you guys for tuning in. If you like this episode, then make sure that you share it all around the web. It is the best way to help out this channel. You guys have been doing that a lot lately, and I really appreciate it. But also, if you want to see more fun, geeky stuff from me every single week, like I said, we do comic books on Wednesdays, but then the rest of the week we do video games, movies, cartoons, anything that you can imagine from the world of geekery, then make sure that you hit that subscribe button. And if you like this episode, make sure that you hit that thumb up. I don't quite know how YouTube works, but I'm sure that that does something. But thank you guys very much, and click on the videos at the end of this to see more fun, geeky stuff from me. Thanks very much. Come back next time.